Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw is updating the police board on the latest hate crime stats today, and he is speaking with the media right now.
Today, Chief Myron Demkiw will provide information on hate crimes and auto thefts in Toronto, and then take questions. Joining him are Catherine Stevenson, Superintendent of Intelligence Services, and Ted Lumanis, Inspector of the Provincial Joint Carjacking Task Force. Chief?
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience. This morning, I updated the Toronto Police Service Board on several challenges our city is facing. It has been 163 days since the Middle East crisis began, and the impact on our city is significant. Officers have made 24 protest-related arrests and laid 30 charges since October 7th in response to threats, assaults, and mischief. Investigations continue, and charges may still be laid as investigators review evidence after some of these events. Policing public demonstrations in a free and democratic society is complex. We are seeing a change in behavior and tactics at demonstrations. We will not allow critical infrastructure to be closed by demonstrators. We will enforce the law and maintain the delicate balance between public safety and freedom of expression and the right to assembly. Project Resolute continues to be a large-scale operation that involves engagement with the Jewish and Muslim communities, additional patrols, command posts, and increased presence around places of worship. This morning, I reported to the board that since October 7th, hate crime is up 93% over the same period last year. Since October 7th, we have attended 989 hate crime calls for service, and there have been 203 hate crime occurrences. We are attending, on average, 157 hate crime calls a month. Of the 84 hate crimes so far in 2024, 56% are anti-Semitic. While underreporting of all forms of hate is a concern, I know from talking to people in the community that Islamophobia is a significant concern, and given our statistics, I am concerned about significant underreporting. Since October 7, 2023, there have been 69 arrests and 173 charges related to hate crime occurrences, including mischief, assault, and uttering threats. We continue to see hate-related graffiti with 342 occurrences since October 7th. I also spoke to the board about auto thefts and carjackings. Last year, more than 12,000 vehicles were stolen in Toronto. That's 34 vehicles every day. That's one every 40 minutes. We have seen a rise in carjackings and break-and-enters for car keys. We know this is a concern for our communities, and we are continuing to take action. We are collating the Provincial Carjacking Task Force with the Ontario Provincial Police. They are doing exceptional work. As of yesterday, the task force has arrested 121 suspects, laid 730 charges, and recovered 157 stolen vehicles. We are putting a significant amount of resources forward to address this citywide. Before I take your questions, I want to acknowledge that today is the first day of the trial in the death of Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrop. I had the opportunity to see the Northrop family this past Friday. And while this case is before the courts, and I can't comment further, I do want the Northrop family to know that the thoughts of the members of the Toronto Police Service remain with them now and always. I also offer the command support and acknowledgement for our members, both sworn and civilian, in the Toronto Police family, who remain devastated by the tragic and sudden loss of their friend and colleague. Now I'll take any questions you may have.
Chief, when you talk about underreporting, and one concern for you is that you feel that incidents of Islamophobia are significantly underreported. You say that you were talking to people, in these communities. What are you hearing from them, and why do you think these incidents are going so underreported?
So thank you for that question. It really is an important thing for us to highlight underreporting, and you've heard me speak of it many, many times in the context of hate crimes. But when I travel throughout the city, I definitely ask and listen for answers regarding how people feel, and particularly as it relates to hate. And in my engagement with the Muslim community, I can tell you that repeatedly, time and again, there are discussions around experiences concerning hate. I visited an Islamic center not long ago, and I was really struck by a young high school student, a girl who described her experiences when she rides public transit. And these are the kinds of things we are frankly not getting reports of. And our numbers year to date, I believe we've had 5 reports this year, which is really not in alignment with what I'm hearing from our community on the ground. As a result of that, we've changed our posture. We've added an additional Muslim liaison officer. We are now present in mosques on a regular basis, have been since October 7th, but on Friday and Saturdays throughout Ramadan, we are moving a command post around the city to visit with our communities at mosques. And we continue to engage with our communities wherever we can. I recently met with a number of imams, and after Ramadan, we are coming together to discuss a more strategic engagement at the grassroots level, at our police stations, at mosques, in the community, in an effort to ensure people understand how to report, what we're really interested in making sure we understand and have a pulse on, and have an opportunity, frankly, to disrupt and hold people accountable who are committing these horrible crimes. And we'll continue in that regard. And we're also going to be exploring technological access to us. We know there's many young people impacted. As I described that one incident, the one thing that resonated is young people, as they go about the city, have experiences that warrant reporting, and we'll find a way to get access to us to report those incidences in a more effective way.
Why do you think it is that people are not willing to come forward and report these incidents?
Well, listen, hate crimes underreporting is something I've spoken of many, many times in my career standing at this podium, whether as chief or before. And there's a number of reasons why people don't report hate. It's sometimes there's a sense of helplessness. Sometimes there's a concern about what's going to happen, how it'll get handled. And I think what I really want Torontonians to know is I'm joined here by the Superintendent from Intelligence Services for a reason. And that's because that unit is leading our hate crime efforts. We've bolstered that hate crime unit to over 30 committed investigators who are working tirelessly to pursue every opportunity and every bit of evidence we can to hold those responsible accountable. And I tell you, it goes beyond the enforcement. It is important to have the community have the trust and confidence to come forward with these incidences, and for us to be able to engage with the community in a way that will help hopefully return a sense of safety and security and help prevent these offenses.
Sean O'Shea with Global News up here. How much of this hate issue can be dealt with through legislation and enforcement? And I wanted to ask you about that because in Vaughan, the mayor is proposing a bylaw that would limit the protests to more than 100 meters away from places like hospitals, institutions. My first question then, do you think that that would be of assistance in trying to deal with the issues in the city of Toronto?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Listen, I look forward to reading the details of how that bylaw unfolds to see what opportunities it provides. But I think any level of government, in fact, I'll say it differently, every level of government has a role to play in doing what can be done to prevent hate. And any opportunity, whether legislative or otherwise, to create awareness and to stop this kind of behavior is welcome by the police. And I think there are a number of things that can be considered over time, so we'll see how it unfolds in Vaughan. And I look forward to discussions that we're going to have with different levels of government and continue to have in this regard.
And as a follow-up to that, please, and that is that there are a lot of people in the city who don't believe the police are being tough enough on people that protest and that take protests too far, that there should be more arrests, there should be more charges laid. How do you address that?
Well, I think, I think it's important to see this in the total context of what we're dealing with. This is an unprecedented time. Since October 7th, we've faced over 500 planned and unplanned demonstrations. We have many a day, sometimes up to a dozen a day that we are managing. And other than a number of incidences that garnered certainly some media attention, we have facilitated assemblies where charter-protected activities took place. We have made arrests. We continue to make arrests. arrest. We continue to investigate. And as the demonstrations change and the behavior of demonstrators change, we pivot and adjust. And we've done that recently again, and we'll continue to do that and iterate our response to be responsive to what's before us, to do everything we can to keep our city safe.
But Chief, about that change in behaviors of the demonstrators, can you elaborate what is changing? What new things are you seeing, and how exactly are you adapting? What are you changing?
Well, I'll give you an example. We've seen cars used in protests, which is something we haven't seen before. We took steps to address that through our investigations. We've seen behavior on the ground change. There's been a little bit more aggressive behavior at times towards our officers while standing on the line and doing what they can to control circumstances. We've had people engage in disruptive behavior for sure. Is also the speed and flow of protests is changing. We've had pop-up events and very rapidly developing events happen recently that required us to pivot our response to make sure that our response can also be rapid and effective in the changing dynamics.
We spoke to some Palestinian demonstrators who feel like the response of the police has escalated. They feel unjustly vilified at sometimes. They don't feel safe at protests. What would you say to them?
I say to them that we'll facilitate lawful, peaceful assembly as we always have. We'll continue to do that. I'd ask people to do their expression in a peaceful, lawful way that is respectful of everyone.
Chief, the news about the carjackings comes at a time where the service is really receiving some backlash after a constable advised residents to leave their car key fobs at their front door to avoid a violent home invasion during a car theft. What's your response to that backlash?
Well, listen, we're certainly aware of the backlash. That's something that happened in the context of a community meeting many weeks ago now. And I think the service has been very clear. We have a number of crime prevention tips that we provide. We've published them quite broadly. And there are things for residents to consider in how to protect themselves from this type of criminality. And again, important for me to stress that we continue our efforts to not only disrupt, but actually arrest, apprehend, and hold people accountable who are committing these types of crimes. And we're doing so on a very significant scale.
So, Chief, should people be leaving their keys by the door?
All right, we have been listening into Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw providing more insight into the latest update and numbers that the Toronto Police Board, or the police that is, have released in regards to hate crimes in the city. A short recap, there have been 163 reports since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. They have seen a number of upticks when it comes to hate crime, some 93% in comparison to last year.